Hello there. I'm very excited that you're here, and I'm very excited to be recording this video because today I will be taking a deep dive into what the third eye is. Today we're going to be unlocking the third eye, or the pineal gland, as some may know it, right? Now, you may have heard of the word third eye, pineal gland. This may be something which you don't have a good understanding of because there seem to be very many misconceptions about what this whole thing is. It's a term that's used, very openly, but I believe many people don't have an understanding of what this whole thing is implying to. If you already know what this whole thing is, this video may still be very interesting for you because today I will be talking about the occult symbolism, the religious, historical, and spiritual meaning behind the pineal gland, right? This is going to be the first and sort of the longest part of the video because I really want you to know what this whole thing is before I go into the other parts of the video, which would be what parts of the body the third eye is responsible for, what physical manifestations it encompasses, and how the human body and spirit operates when it is in a balanced and harmonious way. Also, when this chakra or pineal gland is overactive, blocked, calcified, disabled, etc., etc. In case somebody has some knowledge of the zodiac, I am going to describe which zodiac has the strongest third eye chakra, just so you can connect the dots a little bit better. And in the very end, I'm going to talk about how to balance this energy center, right? Let's get into it. Now, this chakra or eye is the one that we do not see, but that is in itself all-seeing. It allows us to connect with our intuition, higher states of consciousness, our higher self, and give us a clear perspective, as well as allowing us to manifest with the power of visualization. It deals everything that has to do with imagination, visualization, and such qualities. René Descartes' description as the seat of the soul in the 17th century became one of the most influential concepts for the next 3 centuries to come about the pineal gland. It itself looks like a small pine cone, which is why the pine cone has been used as a symbol representing human enlightenment, the third eye or pineal gland, as far back as ancient Egypt, right? It is a symbol that has been used in so many ancient cultures, texts, symbols, religions, and is still being used today. This is all going to be described very, very soon. Now, the pine cone itself is shown to display a perfect Fibonacci sequence, like the sacred geometry of a rose or sunflower, giving it that special sort of thing. The pineal gland itself is located at the geometric center of the brain and is linked to the body's perception of light. It has been proven to regulate melatonin in the body, which controls the wake-sleep pattern as well as the circadian rhythm of the body. Bringing light to something, now that we've discussed that it is responsible for the body's perception of light, the concept of light and bringing light to something is connected to illumination. The word illumination having the word Illuminati within it, which is the pyramid representing the chakra system as the human body heading to the very top, with the all-seeing pineal gland of illumination at the very top of the pyramid. The eye is the all-seeing eye, because it is the eye that we do not see, but the eye that sees it all, right? And that Illuminati symbol is seen on the back of the $1 bill. Now, this pineal gland receives a larger amount of blood flow than any other part of the system besides the kidneys. Yet, scientists still don't know and understand the full significance of what this whole thing is, why is it there, why is it so disconnected from the entire function of the brain, right? But psychopharmacologist Rick Strassen believes that the third eye, or the pineal gland, is the source of the psychedelic dimethyltryptamine, or as we may know, if you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, this stuff is what he talks about without any limit, is the substance of DMT, which is the most powerful psychedelic on our planet, usually extracted from toad venom, right? And right, it is said that this gland actually produces natural DMT. It has been proven that the lungs, as well as some other part of the body, produces DMT, but so does the pineal gland. Now, Strassman has hypothesized that large amounts of DMT are released in our bodies during heightened states of spiritual consciousness, such as birth, death, near-death experiences, or perhaps during the awakening of our Kundalini in a moment of enlightenment. Synthesized DMT or plants containing DMT are often used as recreational psychedelics or in shamanic ceremonies such as the ayahuasca ceremony, originating in South America. DMT or ayahuasca users often report intensely entheogenic experiences of spiritual awakening, contact with entities or supernatural or spiritual origin, and the dilation or compression of time. Me having listened to many sort of people describe the ayahuasca or DMT experience, they say you are blasted off into another dimension, which is beyond human conception, beyond human comprehension. And what they usually see is complicated, structured, geometrical patterns, which basically form the whole reality of the experience, as well as being in contact with certain entities and basically seeing beyond the matrix, seeing the code of which the matrix consists, right? It is worth noting that among reports of thousands of users experiencing with ayahuasca or DMT, the serpent or snake is documented as the most commonly appearing archetype in their psychedelic visions. Now, the serpent archetype is one of the most known archetypes of the collective unconscious of humanity, and it is so powerful. It dates back all the way to the story of Adam and Eve, the serpent tempting Eve to eat the forbidden fruit of knowledge. So this is something I'm going to talk about very soon, but just so you know now, the serpent is a very powerful and significant archetype of the human consciousness, right? Hence why people, it has been shown, that have never even seen or read about a snake, right? Like uncontacted tribes, these people have described seeing serpents or snakes in their dreams, even though they have never read or seen or heard about the concept of a snake, which kind of confirms Carl Jung's theory of the collective unconscious, that we all share this consciousness, right? So now I'm gonna get into really the symbolic, the symbolism behind the pine cone, pineal gland, and these sort of historical, religious, cultural themes that talk about or show the pineal gland. Now, let's give a man named Manly P. Hall some credit in explaining what symbolism is all about. Why is symbolism so important? He says that when the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of man. Manly P. Hall. He was, by the way, a 33rd degree Freemason as well as a mystic, and he has written the book The Secret Teachings of All Ages, which in the occult sort of theme groups is known to be a very, very influential book. He also says that symbolism is the language of the mysteries. By symbols, men have ever sought to communicate to each other those thoughts which transcend the limitations of language, right? So let's keep going. Now, the Egyptian staff of Osiris, dating back to 1200 BC, depicts two serpents rising from the base of the spine, coiling up 7 times, which is symbolic of the 7 chakras, until they reach the third eye, or pineal gland, in the moment of enlightenment. They reach the pineal gland, which is always symbolized by the pine cone. At this moment, one experiences pure joy, love, and gains wisdom which can otherwise never be attained. This is symbolic of the Kundalini rising, as we see in ancient Indian cultures and modern spiritual practices. The pine cone is seen being held or carved on top of the head of the Buddha or Hindu deities. Ancient Assyrian palace carvings dating back 713 to 716 before Christ depict 4 winged beings holding pine cones in their hands, literally like this with the pine cone. I should have brought a pine cone for this video. Anyways, in addition to critical theories relating to Christianity and the Catholic Church, conspiracy theorists also point to the presence of pine cones in Freemason architecture and symbolism as another example of organized spiritual oppression. They believe the Freemasons fully understand the spiritual significance of the third eye and regularly pay iconic tribute to it, while continuing to placate the masses with a doctrine of religious and cultural dogma. Pine cones regularly appear framed in Freemason octagons on the ceilings of Masonic lodges and larger Freemason sculptures. Now, let's keep going to the Greeks and Romans, who also incorporated the pine cone into their elaborate system of religious beliefs and mythology. Dionysus, later known as Bacchus to the Romans, was continually depicted carrying a fennel staff topped with a pine cone. Romans later built an enormous bronze sculpture, which they called the Pina, like the Pina Colada being made from the pineapple and also being somewhat similar to the pine cone, if you see that connection. I don't know what I did there, but yeah, in the shape of a huge pine cone, 3 stories tall. According to a popular medieval legend, the sculpture stood on top of the Pantheon as a lid for the round opening in the center of the building's vault. The Pina is confirmed to have served as a large fountain overflowing with water next to the temple of Isis in ancient Rome. However, the gigantic statue now sits directly in front of the Catholic Vatican in the court of the pine cone. The largest statue of this pine cone is literally at the Vatican, right? Which is kind of the center of their whole thing. Now, the Pope himself is seen to carry a staff with a pine cone resting on top of it. Pine cones also turn up as the source of illumination being the addition of light in the church, such as candle holders and lamps, seemingly symbolic of the spiritual illumination the third eye represents. All of these factors lead conspiracy theorists and philosophers to accuse the Catholic Church of using Christianity and Catholicism as a veil to blind the public to true spiritual enlightenment, the awakening of our pineal gland. One theory proposes that the pine cone was actually the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, perpetrated in Genesis to have been eaten by Eve at the urgings of a serpent, and leading to the eviction of mankind from the Garden of Eden. This concept proves particularly provocative given the consistent reappearance of pinecone images with serpents and snakes, references across cultures. Now, what's interesting is that the Bible itself talks greatly about the pineal gland. That is something I'm not going to get too deeply into because there is a great deal to uncover there. However, I am going to read you two Bible quotes or verses, shall I say. Now, in Genesis, I don't know how to say this correctly, but 3:4-7, it's like a verse, chapter, I don't know how to say it, but it goes like that. But the serpent said to the woman, being Eve, "You will not surely die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband, who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. Now, before this act, before Eve was tempted by the serpent to eat this fruit, they were living in the Garden of Eden, where there was no conflict or separation from God. But as they ate, they became separate from God, which is believed to have started the root of all human conflict, division, and suffering to this day. The suffering of humanity is seen and, still in present day because it is symbolic to Adam and Eve's initial separation from God, initial separation from it all, right? The development of the I, of the ego. So the serpent, what he did was give them access towards their third eye or pineal gland, which became illuminated with the conscious knowledge of good and evil. So it is interesting to debate whether the serpent is good at all or not, because he gave them free choice. He tempted, but he did not force. So that is a very interesting thing to discuss, because why did God not want them to eat from the tree of knowledge? What was he hiding from them? Was it wrong what they did? Was disobeying God the wrong thing to do? Is the serpent the evil one? Or is he, Lucifer being the bearer of light, the light of knowledge, wisdom, enlightenment, illumination, which allowed them to develop that ego, that sense of identity, and gain that sort of spiritual wisdom, but also losing their connection to God, losing that connection to Source. That's something interesting to talk about, but I'm not going to get too deep into this. What I definitely know is that I'm going to make a whole nother series on my channel about the serpent archetype, because it is so interesting to talk about. We also see in Matthew 6:22-24, the eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light in you is darkness, how great is the darkness? Now, obviously there is so much more to be discussed here about the kind of symbolism, but I'm trying to make this video not 3 hours long. So let's keep going to talking about what parts of the body this third eye, pineal gland, is responsible for. It is responsible for the eyes, the ears, the nose, the sinuses, the pituitary and pineal gland, right? Now, in a balanced state, by the way, if you have not seen my video on the chakras, if you do not know what chakras are, because this is what I'm going to talk about now, you can watch my video titled How Our Chakras Manifest Our Physical Reality. There I give deeper insight into the chakra system, also talking about the base root chakra. Then you can move up the energy centers until you reach the third eye, which is what I'm talking about now. But in a balanced state, when this energy is free flowing, you have charisma. Why charisma? And also, I want to tie charisma to having a good sense of humor. Why and how could a person's ability to be charismatic as well as funny, having a good sense of humor, how could that tie to the pineal gland? Well, that is because being funny requires a certain amount of intuition. You have to be able to say the right thing at the right time to the right person in the right circumstance after the correct event, right? So why is it then that some people have this great gift of being very, very funny and others do not? It is because I believe it has to do with the third eye, with that pineal gland, which allows us to gain an intuition of our surroundings, an intuition of the situation, of which person, is more dangerous than the other, which person is to be trusted and which one isn't, that sort of thing. When a person is lying or trying to deceive you, all those things have to do with that organ. But also, being charismatic is not as simple as speaking beautifully or being good looking. It is being able to say really like the right thing at the right time, and that requires more than the rational intellect which we have. It requires a sense of intuition, right? Now, also in a balanced state, we have a healthy perspective and philosophy on our existence. We have a high intuition. We are really able to see beyond the five senses. We are able to see when a person is lying to us. We know who to trust and who not to trust. We know when an advertisement or a salesman is trying to do some sneaky shit, right? But basically, you also have freedom from attachment, which would be enlightenment, which the Buddhist and Hindu traditions strive for. You have insightful creation, so that adds to that creativity. You see the hidden detail in people or things. You have a high imagination, which has a direct influence on your ability to manifest things into physical existence, because through visualization, which is you using the pineal gland third eye chakra, you are able to create a reality in your mind and therefore on some higher spiritual plane before you are able to manifest that into physical reality. You get what I'm saying? And that's why when people talk about manifesting something, they greatly stress the importance of being able to imagine it having already happened, or being able to visualize you having already achieved the success you strive for, or receive whatever it is that you desire, or having become the person you strive to become, right? And that is why having a healthy, balanced third eye or pineal gland is so important for your ability to manifest things into physical reality. I am soon going to talk about how to balance and kind of decalcify, balance that pineal gland, third eye chakra. So also children and small kids have a greater deal of imagination. They live in this fantasy world, and as a person grows up, they lose that ability to use their imaginative thinking, to use that creative approach towards seeing things, right? Because children create things as they go, right? For a grown adult, this is an iPhone charger, but for a child, this is a snake which is attacking them, And that is one of the sources of their happiness, of their complete, what they call childlike joy. And you are able to access that fully as you were when you were a child, when your pineal gland is fully open and decalcified. That's why they say that the first half of a person's life, they try to become an adult, you try to become like a grown-up, but the second part of your life, the second half of your life, when you're already grown, you spend the time trying to learn how to become a child again and how to think like a child. I think it was Pablo Picasso that even said, like, try to think as a child, right? Because children are closer to source. They are closer to God in a sense, because their brains, their third eye, whatever, has not yet been programmed, has not yet been affected by the indoctrination of your parents, society, friends, girlfriends, all of that. That's why they have the freedom to be themselves, to express, to be imaginative, to create. And as we grow up and there are more and more limitations placed upon us, we lose that, God-given natural ability, which is why people then dedicate a great amount of time trying to relearn and regain that childlike wonder and joy. Now, right, when that chakra is unbalanced or blocked, or the pineal gland being calcified, is something you may have heard of. You feel this detachment from your true self, and you're not able to access your inner strength, right? Because it is that initial separation from everything, right? When your third eye is fully active, you don't feel the sense of division. You are connected to the entire cosmos and to each individual you meet. However, biting the apple and now having this balance makes you detached from your true authentic self, right? You lose the ability to connect with your intuition, which can put a curtain over what is actually happening in your life and the decisions which you are making. You will not be able to make the most rational decisions, or shall I not say rational, because rational is not always correct. I better say intuitive decisions. Sometimes what is the practical, logical, adult, responsible, correct thing to do is actually not the correct thing to do after all. Sometimes it is that intuitive choice, that side of us that says, do this, even though it is more dangerous or unknown, mysterious, uncertain, right? Having that balanced third eye chakra allows you to trust that uncertainty and trust in the universe in that sense, right? When you are making a decision, because you are not dealing with solely the intellect and the rational prefrontal cortex, but you are using the spiritual powers of intuition, which the third eye provides you with. Now, when it is disbalanced, you are less sensitive to receiving messages, signs, or synchronicities from the universe, which can make you feel even more sort of disconnected from the whole thing. Because these messages, signs, and synchronicities kind of communicate to you. It's the universe whispering to you that you are on the right track, that you are doing the right thing, etc., etc. And when it is overactive, you can have nightmares, hallucinations, headaches, learning difficulties, poor vision, and lack of intuition. Now, for the last two parts of the video, I'm going to talk about which zodiac has the most powerful third eye chakra. I made a video where I talk about each zodiac's strongest and weakest chakra, and what's interesting is that the Cancer zodiac, the crab, has the most powerful third eye chakra, because the Cancer is the only zodiac that is ruled by the moon being, just like the sun being the masculine, the moon is the feminine principle, right? And the moon deals with things such as intuition, your imagination, your ability to have visions. Cancers are known to be susceptible towards getting visions in their dreams, or through meditation, or through their visualization. Also, cancers, I'm a fellow Cancerian, so maybe I'm gonna be a little bit biased, and I did not pick the Cancer because this is who I am. It's just, it so happens that I am a Cancerian as well. But basically, they are oversensitive as well, which is a strength and a weakness at the same time. Depends how you use it and how it affects you, how you let it affect you. But this oversensitivity allows them to have this greater intuition, this greater insight towards their life, towards the people or the things surrounding them, which is also why they may be known to be so moody or just changeable. The moon is changing every single day, that's why they're so moody, but it may be a symptom of them just having a deeper intuition towards their emotions, them being more in touch with their emotions. People say they're not in touch with their emotions because they're so emotional, but maybe they just feel emotions much deeper, which is why they are known to be moody at times, right? Also, right, the Pisces is kind of close because their strongest is the crown chakra, as well as the Aquarius, and the crown chakra is very, very close to the third eye. All things having to do with intuition and that sort of stuff. Can I say anything else about the Cancer? I think that's good enough for now. But yeah, Cancerians seem to have the strongest third eye chakra out of all the zodiacs. Use this power responsibly to make YouTube videos talking about the third eye, maybe. But one thing I want to talk about is how to balance the third eye or pineal gland. It is known that exposure to certain chemicals can block or calcify the pineal gland because it is very sensitive, right? And this calcification does not allow it to operate in full vitality. What is the main chemical that is known to kind of calcify and block the third eye is fluoride. The fluoride which is in tap water as well as in most industrial toothpastes, right? I used to tell some friends like, yo, don't use this fluoride toothpaste because it calcifies your pineal gland. But they're like, wait, but it's bad for my teeth. Your teeth need fluoride, right? And I don't believe it is an accident why they put fluoride in the water and into every single toothpaste. They don't care about your teeth. Trust me, the government cares less about your teeth than you believe, than you may hope for, right? What they may care about more, what their incentive may be more, is putting fluoride everywhere so that it blocks off your pineal gland, which is directly tied to your connection to the cosmos, which is your antenna, which is your source of spiritual powers, which is the instrument of enlightenment, as we've talked about this entire video, as ancient cultures, religions have acknowledged, dating back to ancient Egypt. You get what I'm saying? They don't care about your teeth. Your teeth will be just fine. Your teeth will be just fine, but your pineal gland is more valuable. Now, what would I say to that? Avoid fluoride toothpaste. Buy toothpaste without fluoride. And also, when it comes to supplements, there are certain supplements which are known to decalcify and allow for full operation of the pineal gland. That would be sea moss or algae, such as spirulina or chlorella, oil of oregano, black seed oil, shilajit, raw cacao, or turmeric, as well as the purest oxygenated water you can get your hands on, because tap water in many countries has fluoride in it, right? So try to get your hands on a water filter or the simply cleanest drinking water you can, as well as any of those supplements if you want to, physically, chemically, on the physical level, decalcify your pineal gland. There are also many yoga poses, mantras, mudras, which you can use. A book I highly recommend is The Energy Codes by Dr. Sue Morter. There she talks about how to activate each individual chakra, as well as the third eye. She mentioned certain yoga poses, mantras, mudras, affirmations, which allow for that energy to flow freely. So I mentioned this book because it is a great inspiration for a lot of the videos I make. Also, a website I want to mention is thirdeyepinecones.com. That is a website where they make jewelry and necklaces using real pine cones and putting certain crystals or shells or similar type of things into this. The reason I'm mentioning them is not because they are sponsoring me, but because I took a little bit of information for this video from their website. It is only my duty to tell you that if you go on their website, they have some beautiful jewelry which you can purchase if you please. Also, which crystal is tied to the pineal gland is the amethyst. It is purple, just as the third eye is seen to be purple. I am wearing a amethyst bracelet, if you can see. So I think that was good for this video. The video is now 40 minutes long. How fun. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. And yeah, I hope your third eye was cracked open for the Kundalini-like enlightenment. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I don't know what else I can really say. That was a decent video. Thank you for being here. See you later.